Hi, today I am here with Shira Warshawski. She's the VP of Marketing at Atidot. And Shira has worked for several startups and really loves working with startups. Shira, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, Caroline, thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. So today we're going to talk about startup marketing and what it's like to work for a startup. And so my question for you is, when marketers try to decide, okay, well, should I make the leap and go and work for a startup? What should they think about? Like, if you could share some of your experience, kind of your day-to-day, and how do you decide if the startup life is right for you?
All right. Okay, so first I'll introduce myself in a few words, and I'll just say that I'm the VP Marketing of Atidot, like you said. And Atidot is a startup that does AI and machine learning for the InsurTech for life insurance companies. And we are mostly about B2B marketing, and our target audience is VP and C-suite, just to give you a sense of how it looks like. And those executives usually work for, insurance companies. So in my career, I actually worked with large public companies like American Express and Amdocs. And I also worked with startups that were, founded by VCs. In some of them, I was even one of the first employees. So that was really exciting. Personally, I always preferred working with startups, despite some disadvantages that they may have. In general, startups, they often suffer from lack of structure, and the lines of responsibilities are somewhat blurry. But I always found out that that was an advantage for me, because you can pick and choose what you're really interested in doing and what matches your personality best. So I personally never fear from the unknown, and I tend to not to focus on job security. So stability has never played a role in my decision making. The downside of working with a startup, obviously, especially in an early stage startup like the one I'm working with right now, is that usually you have to manage with a very slim budget. So that could be a disadvantage, but when I look at it, I always feel like it's a challenge, and it usually pushes me to be more creative. So to overcome that challenge, I found out that platforms such as Fiverr and Upwork would usually, get me a long way in terms of producing things that are imperfect, but are cost effective. So that is a little trick that I use in my work to do things with a very, very low budget.
Right.
Now, there's another challenge of working for a startup that is an InsurTech startup. Because on one hand, we're promoting innovation and cutting edge technology that's based on advanced analytics methodologies, but we're selling to a very conservative world, as you can imagine, I'm sure. The people that we talk to are not necessarily technology savvy. They are very smart and they understand data science, but they're not very familiar, nor do they care for technology. So to overcome that, we kind of balance everything out in our messages and our presentations and the content, and we try to focus on explaining business value and explaining the ease of use. And in general, I feel like that's a better approach overall, because in today's world, people just don't, they want to have everything in their fingertips, and they don't want to do a deep dive before a later stage in the sales process.
Right.
That usually works for us. Another thing that I think helps us overcome that challenge is that, if you win an award, so if your startup wins an award, for instance, we won Gartner Co-Vendor Award in insurance in 2019. So, that helps us kind of stand out. That does a lot of the marketing work for me, because my competition is mostly large consulting companies and generic AI providers. So that award helps us, promote our products better.
And that adds awards are wonderful for adding level of credibility in the startup world. It can be underutilized, but definitely that's something that works really well for startups.
Absolutely. And Gartner in particular, I don't think there's a marketing person that doesn't know Gartner. Gartner has a lot of credibility as an analyst company because their awards are usually unsolicited, and, especially with startups, like we've done nothing to, to gain their attention, other than, quarterly briefings or something.
Right.
So it's, and we actually found out pretty often that, insurance companies or partners, technology partners, even VCs, they address us because they've read about us in Gartner. So that was very, that as a marketing person, it's a great thing to have.
Right. If you're going to win an award, this is probably one of the best ones to win, because first of all, it's real. It's not a pay for play kind of award. And then people trust it, because it's real. So
absolutely. And we're kind of, so if you're a marketing person, you would try to find the right niche that will help you, win those awards. And it's often it's a matter of positioning the technology in a certain way. The technology could fit into different verticals, could fit into different niches, but if you find the right one, you can be unique in that space. And this is where, you can win a lot of awards and get credibility and get people and companies to trust you.
Right. So do you think being able to do messaging and positioning and really like understand the market is pretty critical when you're going to go and work at a startup?
I do. I think it is critical. I think finding the right positioning and the right messages is a journey. And being in a startup that is nimble and flexible, and I usually work with great, very smart people. It's a lot of fun doing that journey with them to find the right messages and the right positioning. And what's nice about startups that you can always pivot. And if, one direction doesn't really materialize, then you can easily make a change in the strategy and go in a different direction. And I think this is where startups usually succeed, is when they are able to understand pretty quickly, where is the pain, what are they solving, who are they addressing, should they say, and so forth.
I think being able to really try and test go-to-market strategies and test messaging. I think one of the things to think about before starting at a startup is, do I need things to be like really defined? Do I like to have like, this is my target audience, and I know this is my target audience, and this is the kind of a go-to-market strategy, and this is the kind of messaging that we use, and then it's all about just improving? Then startup world is not going to be for you, because in startup world, it's like, okay, well, here are our hypothesis, we're going to try it, and then you need to be really quick changing it if it's not working. And there's a lot of iteration.
I agree. And I think in general, if you want to find out if a startup is better for you than a big company, then you really have to, the key is to know yourself, okay? The key is to understand your personality. Some people feel comfortable with large organizations where they gain a lot of deep understanding in their specific niche, and they develop expertise in a certain area, and they can enjoy the stability of, the advantages of stability. They enjoy the fact that there are resources and there are large budgets and there's a lot of support. Support is nice.
Yeah.
And other people, such as myself, I thrive on a little chaos. That is a result of a changing environment, which is always part of being in a startup. And I find a lot of interest also in juggling many projects at the same time. Okay, so that isn't always something that people like to do. I personally, I prefer that. I like being hands-on. I like doing everything from the company strategy all the way down to how the website looks like, or even, you know, writing the scripts for the animated video that I'm gonna do. It's like, it's a lot of fun doing all the levels of things that you have with a company. Maybe for someone else, you know, it's like, it's a bit challenging to write articles on one hand and be really knowledgeable about the vertical that you're addressing, but then also to do the graphics for the website, for instance.
Right.
So yeah, so at Adidot, I do everything, and I kind of like that about the company that I work for. But really, if you want to sum it up, it's all about how well do you know yourself? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How comfortable do you feel in an unstructured environment? And if you understand all that, then you can find the right fit for you.
Exactly. All right. Well, Shira, thank you very much for being with us today and participating. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Caroline. It was a pleasure.